Hello, I'm Kelly and welcome to my floss tube channel, Animal Instinct. It's time to start another cross-stitch kit with me today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're well and are enjoying your stitching. Thank you to all of my existing subscribers and welcome if you're new. This is not a normal cross-stitch update. I'm going to be starting a new cross-stitch kit today. So last floss tube update I asked, I think I shared 5 options and I asked you to select which one you'd like me to start next, and there was a clear winner and it was this one, Home Joy by RTO. So I'm actually filming this after the fact because I realized I hadn't actually introduced the video when I went to edit it. That's why you've just got the cover here. But I had a lot of fun going through what was included in the kit and then making a start on it. And I also did another little kind of mini stitch with me at the end, and I shared some more of my experiences back when I was a young vet about 20 years ago. So hopefully that will be of interest to some of you. If you don't want to see that part of it, just watch the first part where I go through what's in the kit and what I did to prepare it for a start. The one that came close-ish second, it was in the lead to start with, but then Home Joy well and truly took over, was this one, which is where's the name of it? Oh yeah, Possums by Leslie Suzanne Davies, and it's a DMC kit, so I'll probably need to start that in the near future too. Just a little disclaimer too that I realised maybe I should have given on the first one as well. These are all kits from my own personal stash, so as I go through them and sort of give opinions on what's provided, they are just my genuine opinions. I don't have any affiliation with any company. I haven't received any of these kits from them, you know, for free or discounted. I've paid for them with my own money because I've wanted to stitch them. I think the first one was a gift from my auntie who was destashing her cross-stitch supplies, but otherwise they're ones that I've bought myself, so you'll get a true and honest opinion. There's nothing wrong with people reviewing kits that they've been given as gifts, but it potentially could I guess change, or I guess maybe lead to a more favourable opinion if you've gotten it for free perhaps, I don't know. But I just wanted to make that really clear. The one I'm starting today, Home Joy, is one that I bought myself and I'm very much looking forward to stitching, so I hope you enjoy this too. The viewer's choice was Home Joy by RTO. I'm really looking forward to getting started on this piece. So I'm going to take it out of the plastic so it's not so noisy, and I will be right back. Okay, so let's have a look at the cover. As you can see, it's an RTO kit. It's this fantastic design, Home Joy. It is 20 by 13.5 centimeters, and it looks like it contains DMC. So just turn it over. I saw it comes with a John James needle. It just dropped out, so that's handy. I might just take this out. We'll just have a look at this cover still. So RTO kits are made in Estonia. There's contact details. The artist was Nastasia Atrakovic and the design was charted by Katarina Kostakova. It's got DMC, 16 count ADA, needle, chart and instructions, and again there's the code with the dimensions. On the inside of the cover, it's just got a little bit of information, probably worth reading. It talks about how to interpret the chart, and then there's some handy little diagrams about how many threads you need, how to do your stitches, and how to do the fractional stitches too. Okay, then we have the threads. Oh, I love the colours. There's not too many, So we've got 15 on the first page and 8 on the next. Oh, beautiful colours. And so they're looped onto the cards and they still have the loops at the end. So if you want to just use them straight off the card, you can just snip the loops, or if you want longer lengths or you want to put them on bobbins or whatever, you can do that too. So I do like that. Here is our thread. Oh, it's reinforced with that. Okay. Did I say thread? I meant fabric. And this is the piece, so it's not a large piece, and I think it goes, yeah, it goes this way. 16 count Aida, and do need to think about if I need to put something on the edge. This isn't a huge piece, so I might end up sewing the edges just because it's pretty quick and easy to do, or I might just jump in and start it. If it's a really big one, I do like to secure the edges with just a little zigzag or something around the edges with my sewing machine, but this isn't a huge kit. Maybe it won't take so long to do. So anyway, come to that in a moment. And then the chart itself, I won't show you the whole thing. It's based on the artwork. It's actually pretty funny to look at. So the first page is just a normal chart. It's A3 size, so it's on the back of this. So nice big symbols, and the printing and the back stitch is very clear. I'll show you a bit of the back stitch. So it does look like a kid's drawing. Love it. And then there's a second sheet that has the key on it. So let's just have a look. Tells you, yeah, symbols for French knots, and they're worked in one strand. Outlines are worked with back stitch or couching in either 1 or 2, and it explains which threads they are. So when it says like number 1, 8, we would go to the card, or I guess it is, we'll go to this card I and pick number 8, which is white. And it actually says white as well. So yeah, that's just how you interpret the card. It says to do any couching after the final piece is washed and ironed to keep the stitching nice and straight and even. Again, it tells you how to do your stitches, and then also how to the key, the floss key. So again, you'd go to card 1. If you saw the symbol 2, you'd go to card 1 and number 2. So card 1 and number 2, this one. So that's all nice and straightforward. And then it says those ones are done with cross stitch with 2 strands. And then there is some cross stitch with 1 strand as well on both cards. So I'm sure that will be fine. And then mixed colour, so there are some blends. So these 3 symbols indicate blends, and it says which colours to use. I think that, yeah, the illustrations are really nice and clear, easy to understand. Because this is not sort of a uniform, you know, up, down edges, I think I'm going to start this one right in the middle. So I just need to find the middle of my Aida. I think I'm not even going to worry about securing the edges of the fabric. I just want to get started. So I just need to find the center of the fabric and then work out which color to start with. I don't have my pins to hand today. I've just got a couple of needles to help. I'm just going to find the middle by folding it in half this way. And I'll put a needle in along that fold line, maybe about here. And then we'll fold it this way. I guess just to the edge of the selvage. And it's always difficult filming. There we go. So the middle of the fabric is right here. I am going to find a Q-snap and pop it in, and also I haven't actually decided if I will try and get the pattern into digital form or just photocopy it. I'll be right back. Hopefully I will have figured that out by then. It's the next day. I kind of got distracted yesterday, but I have everything ready to go now, I think, including a cup of tea. It's a very cold day here. I think we're going for a maximum of 10. Ooh, no, thank you. I found a needle minder. We'll use the needle that it's come with. I'll just pop that on now so it's ready to go. I have my little, it's a bit extravagant, but it's the little container I use for my orts. There, and scissors. Okay, and let's pop in the Q-snap. So just like the last one, the 8 inches by 11 is my favorite configuration. And I use little strips of felt. And they're looking very tatty. They're quite old. I have bought some felt, but I haven't got around to cutting it up yet. Stuff everywhere. This is an older Q-snap, and I do find these get a bit loose. I have to keep pushing them in. Okay, so I'm not worrying about serging the edges, and I'm also not worrying too much about putting a little arrow pointing up. I know this is a landscape piece, so it's wider than it is high, and we've got the selvage at the top there, so I'll just remember as long as the selvage is at the top, it'll be in the right orientation. And I'm going to be starting in the middle, so I just want it in the middle. Oh, it's really cold. My hands are cold today. Great. This is kind of an example of I just want to get this started and I'm not doing too much faffing to get it ready. Fits in the Q-snap really nicely. If it was any narrower, I probably wouldn't be able to use an 11-inch wide one. I'd probably go to an 8 by 8. And I've been trying the Nerge ones as well lately. Just I haven't quite mastered them yet though. So the Q-snap is still my favourite. Okay, and you can see the selvage is up here, so this is at the top. And I really don't have any fabric to try and fold around. It's just fits perfectly. I'll still put the grime guard on though. Okay, yep, that's good. And we'll pop this on ready to go. All right, so that's all ready. Now with the pattern, I ended up putting it into Pattern Keeper, mainly because I didn't have any ink in my printer. I was going to just photocopy it, but that was a bit of a pain getting access to a printer. So I used the function in Pattern Keeper to take a photo of the pattern. It's an A3 pattern, so it's quite large. So I did it in sort of 2 stages and it went in really nicely. So I thought I'll show you kind of what it looks like it's in the program, but it's not fully compatible, like you can't search for symbols or anything like that. So I'll show you that, and then I think we're ready to start. So this is the result of me importing photographs of the pattern into Pattern Keeper. It's come up really nicely, but as I mentioned, you can't search for symbols. My understanding of how this works, and this is a pure guess because I don't really know, and I'm definitely not tech-minded, is that you import an image and the program knows that there's something there, but it can't actually interpret any of it. It's just like a flat image, as opposed to when patterns are made compatible with this program, the program can pick up all the grid, all the grid lines and all the symbols. And so you can hit one symbol and it will highlight all of the other symbols in the pattern of that same symbol. But this is different. I've just imported a like a blank image in its sort of interpretation, and then I've told it how many stitches there are across and down, so the stitch dimensions. It then gave me a grid with those dimensions, and I could move that grid around and align it with the grid on the pattern that I can see but the program can't. And then once I was happy that all of the lines lined up with the pattern, hit OK, and then it now knows that there are stitches in each of these squares. So you can, it will select squares, but it doesn't know what's in the squares. You have to do it page by page, so you need to know the dimensions of each page or image that you're uploading. So you do the first one all the way through, and then it asks if you want to add another pattern. Another page. So I did that. I did this in 2 pages. It's not perfect, but it came up pretty well. I'm really happy with it. The first one went in really easily. The second one, the page was a bit bent and creased, and so it just took a bit more sort of finagling to get it to line up. And I actually quite like the challenge of getting it into Pattern Keeper like this. I'm not willing to sit there and rechart a pattern, but I don't mind sitting there and fiddling with the grid lines to get them aligned, because now I can use this in program. So before I start though, there's a couple of settings I'd like to change. So this is just default. I'm pretty sure I haven't done this already, but I guess we'll find out. Say we select those 4 squares, say we've stitched them. So just as you'd normally use Pattern Keeper, hit the, yeah. Now all you're getting is a solid grey box filled in. I think it's easier if you can see the symbols through the colour. So let's go to settings and we just press finish stitches, use translucent colours. So colour finished stitches, slightly transparent, so the symbol is still visible. Now if we go back, now you can still see what the symbol was, but you can see that it was completed. And I just find that easier when you're orientating yourself. So I always do that. And next, like the grey is really boring. It's not very inspiring. So we can also change that colour. Colour for finished stitches is currently grey. Let's make it, I'll go purple. You hit one of these and then it gives you some options. We might go that one. So we'll come back. And now when the stitches are completed, it's in purple. You definitely can't sort of assign a colour to each symbol, because the way this has been brought in, it's not reading the symbols. It's just, it knows there's a grid. That's all it knows. So I'll just frog them. The other thing that I used to do when I used a paper pattern was highlight the stitches I wanted to stitch. Then I'd stitch them and then I'd come back to the pattern and I'd highlight them in another colour to show that I'd finished them off. And you can do that in here too. So if we pick the 2 symbol, so we're just highlighting them. We're not going to hit that they're stitched. We're going to actually hit the, is it a magnifying glass? There we go. So now that's sort of the equivalent of highlighting an area that you want stitched, but it hasn't marked them off as stitched yet. You can see the stitch count over here, 0. So then when I stitch them, I would go back over and hit the tick, and now they're done. And now it's recorded the stitches. I'll just frog them again. The other thing also is that you can't, the stitch count is meaningless unless it's a full coverage pattern. At the moment, it's just like the full, it's counting every single stitch, every single grid square in the grid as a stitch, regardless of if there is actually going to be a stitch in there or not. So if I remind you, there's a lot of blank stitching around here, but it's counting all of those squares as stitches as well. So that's just something to be mindful of. I think it's fine to show like a little bit of the pattern here. It's not giving anything away. And I'm just going to pick my first colour. Now I've left the red dot there, indicates the centre of the pattern, which is where I wanted to start. So actually I think that 2 is probably a good symbol to start with. Let's highlight that. Okay, so now next is just to pop the Q-snap in the Lowry stand, and let's get started. Okay, so just a reminder as well, I stitch, when I use the Lowry stand, I stitch two-handed. I have my left hand, which is my non-dominant hand, on top, and my right hand, my dominant hand, is underneath. So when I clamp the Lowry stand on, I want this bit that's sticking out to be on top, so that because it's under my right hand, so my right hand is free to move underneath. If it was round that way, I would be banging it as I try and stitch. So let's just clamp that in. Okay, and I've got it ready to slide onto the stand. Okay, hopefully that's okay to see. I might just re-jiggle the setup here to make it comfortable for me and for you watching. Okay. So let's just figure out, oh, I think I already, when I showed you the key last time, I worked out, I think 2 was white, wasn't it? Let's have a look. Symbols, 2 is on card 1 and it's number 2. And it's cross stitching with 2 strands. Card 1. Oh no, it wasn't white, cool. That's good. It's this kind of rusty colour. So I haven't snipped the loops on these cards yet. I think, I'm just having a look. I'll snip this one, and if I think the strands are too short, I'll do it differently for the others. Like I said, this is just one I just want to start. Let's just get going. So now you might be able to hear some singing. I've been hearing it all morning. Seems to have paused for now. I'm facing my backyard right now, and behind the backyard there's a paddock. like an empty paddock, and then behind that there's like a little nature area, like with a little dam and gum trees and just nice stuff. And behind that is a restaurant, and they often have functions outside with bands playing, and the sound like wafts over into my backyard. So I think she might be, maybe they're doing like practice, or can't be a sound check, 'cause it's been going on for hours. But I won't be surprised if later on I hear a full band playing, which is fine, it's nice. Can't see if I'm in the camera right this second, but I did get that needle threaded first go, which is nice. So I'm doing a loop start. I've put both ends of the thread through the needle, and I've got my loop at the end. Now, let me just remind myself where I'm going. So the middle is there. So I do my first, I go in from the top right. Normally I'd start my stitch coming up from the top left. So I'm now going into the bottom left hole. Hopefully, if I can see what I'm doing. Poke my needle straight through the loop. Pop it back down the top right. And hopefully we'll hear a little pop. Yep. And I'll just do that stitch. Actually, I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to get rid of these needles now. I don't need them anymore. A sip of tea, and now it's started raining too. Okay. So this is, yeah, 16 count Ada. I quite like stitching on 16 count. I did my Sunny Beach piece on 16 count, and yeah, I really liked that. Hopefully you can see. It's a little bit awkward for me, so this one is, yeah, I think this one might have to go into my, not that I have a rotation, but into like being actively stitched. I can't wait to see it come together. Love that sound of the needle and the threads going through the Ada holes. I feel like you don't get that quite as clearly on smaller count fabrics. Hopefully you can hear that too. So I don't really have any strategy to stitching this one, not yet anyway. Maybe that will come to me as I stitch more. I'm a cross-country stitcher at heart, sorry. Yeah, who knows where I'll end up going. I do quite like starting top left, but it just didn't make sense on this one, so that's all right. It's going to be good to get this one underway enough that I know kind of where I am, and yeah, it's just got that big, let me just pull it up again, that face, there's something about that face. It's just so awkward and slightly wrong, but fun. So I received some lovely comments on my last one that at least some of you enjoyed hearing some of my experiences working in veterinary practice, and I was thinking what else I could share. And I'm stitching a cat. I've got a couple of memorable cat stories from back when I was a brand new baby vet, and I'm obviously still learning how to stitch and talk at the same time. But I thought I could share a couple from back in the days. I started working in clinical practice in Adelaide. I had studied in Brisbane, and then I came home to Adelaide for my first job. And when I first got home, I moved back in with my parents, which was interesting, until I found somewhere to live. So when I very first started working, I was at home with the parents, which actually was good because it was hard work, and it was nice to have, mum doing cooking and looking after me. But the clinic I started in offered after hours. Not many clinics did then, and I would say even fewer do now, because there are emergency centres that are fully staffed and fully equipped 24/7. So there's not really a need for, certainly, inner city practices to offer after hours. Certainly there is that need in, I've already messed up, have I? Yes. Definitely a need for after hours in regional and rural locations, without a doubt, but not really in the city. And there probably wasn't when I started. Anyway, that was just something my employer offered. Sorry, I'm just stitching backwards now. Okay, don't mind me. It'll be fine. I am just going to concentrate so I don't make the same mistake again. Just bear with me. Nothing to hide here. This is real stitching. One day, maybe I'll get better at stitching and talking. This is what happens at retreats as well. So let me just double check. There's 6 on top, yes. Okay. All right. So yeah, so my first practice, I started in 2006. So it's like 20 years ago now. And I think I got 1 month's grace period of not having to do after hours when I very first started. And then, my first stint on the after hours roster was 1 month in. So my boss was very generous in letting me have a month off, and you might note some sarcasm in my voice. Still very inexperienced when you've been out for a whole month. But the way our clinic did it, so we were open 7 days a week. I think it was maybe 8 to 7 Monday to Friday, 8 to 6 Saturday, and 9 to 6 Sunday. And when you're on call, you'd work your normal week, and we usually had a day off during the week because to account for the fact that we'd work weekends. And yeah, so when you did when you were rostered on for after hours, you just did your normal week's work, which was a lot. And then you were on call every night that week, including on your day off. And you finished your week on call with working a full weekend shift. So 8 to 6 Saturday, 9 to 6 Sunday. plus on call during the evening. And I used to get berated for being tired after my week on call. I think it was probably to be expected, but anyway. So the way it worked was, you would have you do 7 nights on call. And when the clinic was closed, the phone lines would be diverted to a paging service. And they weren't medically trained. They would take a message, and we had a pager back then. It was before smartphones. And the pager would beep, and actually it sang the Macarena. And to this day, I cannot hear that song without being slightly traumatized. I'm just picking my next colour, which happens to be the next one along, 3. And I'm going to snip the loops. So yeah, you get the pager would buzz, it would sing the Macarena, you'd quickly scramble to turn that off because it was a horrible sound. And there'd be a little message, and it would have one sentence sort of summarising what the client was telling the call operator, and it would have their name and phone number. And then you'd arrange to meet them at the clinic if needed. You'd ring them. You didn't always need to go in. Sometimes they just needed advice. But yeah, if they needed to be seen or if they wanted to be seen, you'd meet them there anytime from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. Sometimes you wouldn't get any calls, and sometimes you might get hammered. You might get 10 calls, and you might even have to go into the clinic like 3 or 4 times in one night and then turn up to do your normal shift the next day. So you could kind of understand why sometimes I was tired. My very first call, pager went off. That first week on call. Now I can't thread the needle. Oh, I'm going to do this off camera, it'll be quicker. And I'm licking the floss. Pager went off. I think I just got home from work. Pager went off and the message came through. And actually, before I tell you what the message was, I have to remind myself, as a vet, nothing is too gory for me. And I need to remember that not everyone is the same. So I don't think anything I'm going to share today is particularly gory, or if it seems like it might be, it actually won't be. So that's okay. But yeah, message came through and it said, cat has stick poking out of eyeball. And I quietly panicked because I was thinking, whoa, that's something. If we got that coming in during the week, we would refer it to a specialist veterinary ophthalmologist. That's not something we would usually deal with. The eye is a very sensitive organ, and yeah, as a general practitioner, I mean, we can do plenty, but we can't do really sophisticated, complicated surgical procedures such as repairing something like that. Anyway, I arranged to meet them there, hopped in the car, was like doing a quick mental check of trying to remember or refresh, I guess, my veterinary ophthalmology and emergency ocular medicine when I should have really been concentrating on driving, but that's just how it goes. I possibly even had a little textbook in my lap just to remind myself of some options of how I could look after it if I needed to. Because when I went in, I didn't have any support. It was just me. There weren't any nurses. I soon found out I could not call my boss for support. It was just me. I guess I could have called friends, other friends from uni as well who just graduated, and we did have a nice support network like that. But anyway, I got there. Clients were very concerned about their poor putty cat, and I was too. And they took it out of the carrier, and the poor little cat was winking at me because he had a very sore eye and he couldn't open it properly. but I just saw a little glimpse of something and I immediately felt so much calmer and more relaxed about it because I knew exactly what was going on. And the cat was lovely, very placid. They just held on to him to make sure he didn't try and jump off the table. And I was able to gently, with some forceps, hold on to this little thing that I had seen and remove it. And it was a grass seed, or some people know them as grass awns. And that's the little pointy, sticky bit of the grass head, you know, just as it's going to seed. They're really common here in spring and summer. Vets spend a lot of time removing grass seeds from pets' ears, noses, throats, between the toes. They can go anywhere. And they've kind of, the way their little barbs are on the little bit of plant material, once they start burrowing in, they don't turn around. They just keep going in one direction. Anyway, I knew that that's what it was. And it wasn't poking out of its eyeball, but I understood why they might have thought that. It was actually down in between. Cats and dogs have a third eyelid, which protects the surface of the eye. When they shut their eye, when they blink, it sort of comes up. And it was tucked between that and the eyeball. So removed that, the owners, and it was really long. It looked quite impressive because it just kept coming out when I started removing it. Owners thought I was an absolute hero. I was able to check that it hadn't actually done any damage to the surface of the eye. We put a little bit of fluorescein dye on there, and basically it glows if there's any damage, ulceration or whatever. It was absolutely fine, and the cat was fine. And that was actually, as hard as it was to start with, it was a nice case because as a new graduate, it really buoyed my confidence. It really helped my confidence in being able to work through a problem on my own without any support whatsoever, and have a really positive, I guess, conclusion and outcome. And it also, I think as time went by, I got better at asking questions when I spoke to the owners before I met them at the clinic, to try and understand, you know, what the problem might be. You always need to examine them to really help, I guess, solve the puzzle. But you can get a lot of really helpful clues by speaking to these owners who love their pets and know them better than you. So that was my very, very first after hours call. And yeah, that one went well. When I went in, like, I had to just do things that normally I would either not do at all. Like, I never used to take payments. So I had to learn how to use an FPOS machine for the first time. And what else? Just having to, like, you know, say you're putting an IV catheter into a dog or a cat, or you're needing to take a blood sample. It really helps to have someone holding the pet who is not emotionally attached, shall we say, and has a lot of practice in holding them, so the pets remain calm, because pets can definitely sense when their owners are stressed. And yeah, it just makes things easier. So I learned how to do all of that either on my own, because sometimes clients were not willing to help, or, you know, with their help too. So I got really good at figuring these things out on my own. And then my other memorable cat after hours call out from that first job as a brand new young vet, and I was still at home, still with mum and dad at this point. My dad was quite concerned about me going into the clinic in the middle of the night where there's lots of, medications, serious medications that people might want to gain access to. And not knowing, you know, who these random people were that I was meeting. Just filling in my stitches. And I think, yeah, there's good reason to be alarmed because it was quite dangerous. And again, still in sort of country centres, I'm sure that would still happen. But again, it wouldn't happen so much now in the city. Let me just pick my next colour. So it's card 1 is the dot. So card 1, number 10, but it's only one strand. I guess I need to finish off that thread first. So anyway, yeah, so my dad was quite concerned about me doing that, bless his heart. And he insisted that he was going to come in with me when I had to go in on these calls. Now that did not last because he's not an animal sort of person. I knew he wouldn't help, but it was nice to have, you know, company. and I guess for security too. But I'm pretty sure he only came in this once. I don't remember him ever coming in again. And this, yeah, I think he did it, yeah, once, and that was it. So anyway, got a call. This one woke me up. This was like maybe 2 a.m. It was a horrible time of day. Got the call. I can't remember what the page message was, but rang the owners, and really lovely couple, very, very concerned for their cat. Just grabbing that thread. Which one was it? And the way they described what the cat was doing, I immediately suspected that it had been bitten by a snake. It was the right season for it. And yeah, we were seeing, I had never, I don't think I'd treated one on my own at that stage. Certainly not out of hours. Yeah, that was my first out of hours snake bite. But yeah, the cat just wasn't quite right. It was a bit wobbly on its feet. And I can't remember specifics, but I was pretty sure it was a snake bite. The owners, however, were adamant there was no possible way their cat had access to a snake. So they did not believe me, which is fine. That's all right. They had done, now 2006, I guess Google was around, but not as sophisticated as it is now. They definitely did some Dr. Googling. I remember that. And they'd come up with, you know, a list of possible things that they thought might be going on. And in the end, we just decided that the best thing to do was to meet at the clinic, and I would examine the cat. I could hear what they were thinking and let them know what I thought too. But in my mind, it was probably going to be a snake bite, and it was. The cat survived, so there's no issues there. He went home. I think he was in hospital for about 4 or 5 days. So we went in. Dad was with me, and I wasn't sure how that was going to go. Clients were lovely. My dad, all the singing's just started up. I don't know if you can hear that. My dad and the husband sat in the front waiting room chatting about sport. And the wife came down to our hospital area with me to help me with the cat and to just let me know what was going on with him. He was an absolutely beautiful Abyssinian breed. We didn't see too many Abyssinians, but yeah, he was lovely, big, beautiful, sleek. And he was like this really dark red colour. He was stunning. But he wasn't very well. Anyway, the wife was really helpful. She held on to him while I examined him. I was very confident that it was a snake bite, and I can't quite remember how we worked it up. But I think we were presuming it was. There would have been blood tests, all of that kind of stuff going on that needed to happen. And then she did when I sort of explained how it might have happened, she agreed that actually, yes, there is a definite possibility that he had access to a snake, or a snake had access to him, I guess, in their little backyard. Now, what happens with a snake bite is it causes paralysis. And so this putty cat couldn't actually walk, or he possibly could have tried, but he would have been very wobbly and, basically had no strength. That's an effect of the venom. So he was on the table. She was holding on to him, because generally you wouldn't let go of a cat in a room. And I turned around to get some supplies because I wanted to get an IV into him. And turned around, like it would have only been a matter of seconds. And then something made me jump back around and she actually fainted, poor lady. Really lucky there was a chair behind where she was standing and she just slumped into that chair. And I had my hands full of like needles and syringes and tape and you name it. I actually had one hand on the cat and I needed to tend to this poor woman who had passed out. So I yelled out to the men, excuse me, I could do with some help back here, something like that. And they came sauntering down. I realised that the poor putty cat, he couldn't move. He could move. He couldn't walk. So I could actually leave him on the table and he wasn't going anywhere. That was like the one bonus of him being unwell. I could leave him where he was and he was safe and I could go and look after this poor lady who'd fainted. So by the time the men, took their time to come down, she was coming to. I got her some water and I was just making sure that she was okay. But whoa, that was a lot. I am trained in animal medicine, not human medicine. But it wasn't actually the only time I had to treat a human. Anyway, everything went well. She was fine. He made a recovery. He had the treatment he needed, and like I said, he went home. I think it was 4 or 5 days later, and they were very grateful for what we'd done and the care that I'd also given her during her time of need. And yeah, I'm pretty sure my dad decided somehow he wasn't available for future call-outs. I think it was too much for him. I guess I have like distinct memories of some calls I received in that time. Some I've probably, blocked. But on the topic of treating humans, another call I got once was a lady rang up. It's probably like 7 p.m. on a weeknight, and she was in a panic because her dog, she had a big Rottweiler, big Roddy, beautiful Rottweiler, and he was on daily medication for arthritis. And she also took daily medication for some sort of back problem she had. She'd lined up his medication on the kitchen bench, and hers was next to it. And I don't know why she rang me because the dog didn't get any medication. She actually accidentally took her dog's meds. So if she'd given her own meds to the dog, I could have given advice, absolutely, and probably would have needed to have seen that dog. But because the dog was completely unscathed and she had potentially taken, a poison, possibly, she needed to seek medical help. So I had to explain that to her. I'm a vet. I'm not a human doctor. You need to call the poisons info line, I think it's called, to get advice on what might need to happen. She actually was hard to get off the phone. She was really nice. She was kind of laughing about it because they were different medications, but both were for similar problems. So she was thinking, oh, maybe the dog's meds will, it'll help my back anyway. And I'm like, I cannot give any sort of advice on that. You need to call the poisons info line. So she did, and I didn't ever hear from her again. But the funniest part about that call was the medication the dog was on. So this is a big dog, needs a fairly big dose. And it was, if you have pets, you might know this medication. It's a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory called carprofen. And he was on 100 milligrams of carprofen. And I'm out of practice now, so I presume you can still buy Rimadyl, but at that time it was the main branded carprofen that you could purchase. So you could get Rimadyl in tablets or meaty chews. And yes, the 100 milligram Rimadyl meaty chews were a good choice for big dogs. And that's what her dog was on. And that's what she'd accidentally taken. I couldn't understand how, because meaty chews, they stink. They're very meaty. The dogs love them. So how, and it was large, like it wasn't just a small tablet that you could easily just, pop in your mouth and swallow. So I don't know how she managed that. She must have been interrupted, or I don't know how she did it. But hopefully she was all okay. But yeah, I didn't hear from her again because the dog was fine. He just needed his Rimadyl, but she'd taken it. So yeah, you used to get calls. And as time went by, you got better at sort of asking the right questions and working out, is this something that should be seen this evening, or is it okay to wait until tomorrow? Because there were, increased fees with coming in out of hours. So people had to weigh that up as well. I'm just going to pause and see if the singing's still going. I can just hear it. What time is it? It's 1:15. Yeah, they may have an afternoon event on. I have to check their Facebook page. There's been quite some nice bands playing there. Not sure about this one though. It just sounds like it's missing something. It's interesting that this is, one stranded cross stitch in amongst the two strands. So I'd be really keen to see how this one looks when it's all done. But at the moment, it's looking like a ginger cat. It's not completely ginger in the picture. It's got yellow and purples and browns. But at the moment, it's ginger. Oh, and I just noticed, hang on. It's got really cute claws as well. Let me grab the picture again. Look at the claws. Look at all that back stitch too. That just makes it so great. Okay, I think I've got one more stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay. Just mark those off on Pattern Keeper. Okay, what's next? Sorry, I'm just trying to work out what symbol I should do next. Okay, so you can see my backs aren't like perfectly neat, but they're perfectly fine by me. Okay, let me just pick the next colour. You can possibly listen to some singing. It's pretty faint at the moment though. Okay, so I'm going to do oh, it's an A. So it's here. So it's card 1, number 9, stitching with 2 strands. So I was just on 10. So we're going to go with 9. And at the moment, I'm all right with the shorter lengths. That singing reminded me, just recently I attended a work event. Don't mind me, I'm just licking my floss off camera just to make sure I can thread the needle really quickly so you're not waiting. There we go, done. Yeah, I was at a work event and I was the only Australian person present. It's a bit wobbly today. I don't know why. Anyway, there is a link to singing, I promise. On the first evening, there was a dinner. So there were people from different countries present, mainly throughout Asia. And the first evening we had a dinner, which was really nice. Got to meet everyone. And yeah, try some of the local cuisine and all that kind of thing. And that was great. Until I hadn't even finished eating my dinner when the karaoke came out, and my heart sank because I am not comfortable doing karaoke. I do not sing in front of people. I was happily sing at home, in the car, but not in a room, and especially like I was there for work. I needed to, be professional. And yeah, I was sitting there thinking to myself, how on earth am I going to get out of this? Because I could immediately tell it was going to be expected that I would perform. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, how can I get out of this? And as I'm thinking this, I hear a man behind me say something along the lines of, "There is no way I am singing." And I turned around and said, "I'm with you. I am not singing." But then he said, "Well, my colleague wants to sing, and perhaps if he sings, I'm willing to get up and dance. Would you come up and dance with me instead of singing?" And I thought, oh no. What's worse, singing or dancing? Oh my gosh. But I quickly decided that was probably a nice, safe way to still be part of it, but not completely embarrass myself. So, yeah, sure enough, the microphone got handed to me and I explained the deal. So the two men were from Nepal. So I'm not entirely sure what the song was that was sung, if it was like a pop song or a traditional song. I don't know. I've got no idea. But anyway, one of them started singing, and the other one, I told him, I'm just going to follow your lead, because I didn't know what kind of dancing he would be doing. I was completely mortified. Anyway, I just followed him, and he did kind of I guess maybe some sort of Nepali dance. I'm not really sure. But it was funny. He was giving me tips as we were going, and I was so embarrassed, but I was glad that I'd done something, because it was definitely better than I couldn't work out how to get out of singing. The worst part about it was that I would say there would have been at least 15 people filming on their phones. So I couldn't even pretend that it never happened. And then, I've got that footage from different angles too many times. I do not need to see that again. And then the song went on forever, and there was a little pause, and I whispered to the other man dancing. I said, gee, that was a very long song. And then it started up again, and I was like, oh gosh. And you can see me in the video sort of sinking a bit when I realised it actually wasn't over yet. But it was actually a good thing to do. It broke down some barriers, and kind of, people appreciated that I'd been part of it, I guess, because there were some other people who completely refused to play any role, which was fine, absolutely fine. But it definitely, people were more willing to come up and talk to me afterwards. And yeah, I am glad I did it, even though it was completely mortifying. Yes, so I was joking with my boss that I need some karaoke training included as part of my job if I'm going to have to do things like that. Sadly, not going to be funded, which is actually fine by me. I've just got to work out if I'm going to, how to deal with that again if it happens. And it was really interesting. So we had people singing from lots of different countries, and some were singing really corny American songs like Elvis, but others were singing songs from their own nations, and it was just lovely to hear just a wide range. And some of them were absolutely beautiful singers, some of them absolutely were not. But the common thing was that none of them, they all got up and sang with confidence. That's what really impressed me. They didn't care if they really couldn't hold a tune. They just got up and did it anyway, and had fun. So maybe I need to learn from that. Something I never thought would happen. Whoops, at work. Didn't plan that well. Can I get 2 more stitches? Now, once I've done these 2 stitches and tied it off, I'm just going to have a look at how long I've been going for, because I think I might be just about done. There we go. Okay. Okay, how are we going? Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's plenty long enough. So I've done 96 stitches. That's pretty good. It doesn't look like 96, does it? So just as a reminder, this is the kit I'm working on. And I had a lot of fun getting this one ready and just starting, and it just shows you don't need to overthink it. I usually do overthink it and I want everything to be just right before I get started. But other than getting into Pattern Keeper, I've just gone ahead and got this one underway. So hopefully you'll see this more in my rotation coming up. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. See ya.